Tato Jayam Mudiraya Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam this morning, we first offer our respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, unto Nayana Rayana Rishu, Supramost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasa Devi author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed, practically nil, and thus a loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Purusha Shukta confirmed, text number 42. Good morning, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Radharikanta, Shri Gurnitai. All glories to our zero internet audience, since nobody really watches our YouTube videos, but we do it anyway, and now and then we get a view or two. Let's see, where in the world are the glasses here? Okay, is it on the board?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Ajo. Vatarat. Purushaha. Parasya. Ajo Vatara Purusha Parasya. Kala. Swabhava. Sad. Ashan. Manas. Cha. Kala Swabhava. Sarashan Manas Cha. Dvabhyam. Vikaro. Guna. Indriyani. Dvabhyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani. Virat. Swarat. Tashnu. Charishnu. Bhumnaha. Virat Swarat Virat Swarat Tashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha. Ajo Vatara Purusha Parasya. Kala Swabhava Sarashan Manascha. Dvabhyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani. Virat Swarach Charishnu Bhumnaha. Ajo Vatara Purusha Parasya. Kala Swabhava Sarashan Manascha. Dvabhyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani. Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha. Ajo Vatara Purusha Parasya. Kala Swabhava Sarashan Manascha. Dvabhyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani. Virat Swarach Dashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
What is that? ST or SI?
Which one?
The third word on the last line.
I've been calling it Stashnu. It's S-T-H-A, emphasized T-H-A-S-N-U.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Dvavyam Vikano Guna Indriyani.
Dvavyam Vikano Guna Indriyani.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bunam.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bunam.
Adyo Avatara Purusha Parasya.
Adyo Avatara Purusha Parasya.
Kala Sabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Kala Sabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Dravyam Vikaya Guna Indriyani.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Ajovatara Purusha Parasya.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Kala Swabhava Sadasan Manascha.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha.
Virat Swarat Stashnu Charishnu Bhumnaha. Okay, word for word. I know most of the devotees know this, but on the last line, there's that word bhumnaha. So on the second and fourth line, because they're one long line, so at the end of the second line and the end of the fourth line, if there's a dot under an H, they give it that ha, so it's bhumnaha. So you don't have to remember just how the person's saying it, but if you see that at the end of a second line or a fourth line, then you can pronounce that H with the dot under it as a ha. But when it falls in the middle of the sentence, like Purushaha, they generally don't do it, Purusha, although you will see some people do that. I don't know, technically you'd have to ask Hridayananda Maharaj or somebody like that, some Sanskrit, which is the technical, factual way it should be done. But usually they don't pronounce the dot with the H under it, the H with the dot under it. They usually don't pronounce that in the middle of the sentence, but only at the end of the second and third line, second and fourth line, because that's the end of a line. This first and second lines are really all one long line, and the same with the second and the fourth. So at the end of the line, they pronounce it, and generally not in the middle of it, or the beginning, or towards the end, but only at the end. Okay. Word for word. Ajaha. First. Avataraha. Incarnation. Purushaha. Karanadakshayi Vishnu. Parasha. Of the Lord. Kalaha. Time. Swabhava. Space. Sat. Result. Asat. Cause. Manaha. Mind. Cha. Also. Dvabhyam. Elements. Vikaraha. Material ego. Gunaha. Modes of nature. Indriyani. Senses. Virat. The complete whole. Swarat. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Stanu. Or actually, Stashnu. Immovable. Chadishnu. Movable. Bhumnaha. Of the Supreme Lord. So, I can't read the Sanskrit, which is the same script as Hindi. Those who are fortunate enough to be able to hear it from the time they're little and maybe learned it in school, they can generally pronounce the words correctly, but I'm not really a linguist or really very good at pronunciation. So I can only read it in the Roman letters, and I haven't really studied the exact pronunciation according to the phonics code that they give. So my pronunciation may not be completely perfect on it. But there's a story of one saint who appeared on earth to help people become Krishna conscious. And that saint was preaching to one shepherd, or teaching one shepherd, and he would go over the mantra, and the shepherd would say, oh, this is very hard for me to pronounce these mantras correctly. But the saint was very patient and went over it again and again, and finally he learned it. Thanked him very much, and the saint went on his way. He was traveling through the forest, and all of a sudden he hears some thunder, and then he hears the Lord say, why have you done that? The saint says, oh my Lord, Krishna, what have I done? He said, so Krishna says, it's not so important with language, or the articulation, or this or that. He says, I'm interested in the bhava, the affection, the love. That shepherd was my devotee, and his prayers were very sincere and full of love. And now you've oriented him in such a way that he's only concentrating on the exact sound and the exact pronunciation, and no longer do I feel the bhav. So the saintly person understood, and that's all I heard of the story. Okay, so here's the translation. Please repeat. Karanadakshayi Vishnu. Please repeat. Karanadakshayi Vishnu. Is the first incarnation. Of the Supreme Lord. And he is the master of eternal time. Space. Cause. And effect. Mind. M-I-N-D, mind. Elements. Material ego. Modes of nature. The senses. the universal form of the Lord, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and the sum total of all living beings, both moving and non-moving. Karanadakshi Vishnu is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and he is the master of eternal time, space, cause, and effects. Man, the elements, material ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form of the Lord, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and the sum total of all living beings, both moving and non-moving. Concerning ego, I saw this little epitaph recently where they have this sage and he's struggling with his mind. And it says the sage struggles with his own ego. The fools struggle with everybody else's ego. I thought that was very interesting. So Srila Prabhupada's purport. That the material creation is not permanent has been discussed many times herein before. The material creation is but a temporary exhibition of the material energy of the Almighty God. This material manifestation is necessary to give a chance to the conditioned souls who are unwilling to associate with the Lord in a relationship of loving transcendental service. Such unwilling conditioned souls are not allowed to enter into the liberated life of spiritual existence, because at heart they are not willing to serve. Instead, they want to enjoy themselves as imitation gods. The living entities are constitutionally eternal servitors of the Lord. But some of them, because of misusing their independence, do not wish to serve. Therefore, they are allowed to enjoy the material nature, which is called Maya or illusion. I mean, isn't it so? I don't know about you all, but I just was not born with a service attitude toward God. I was taught it. I grew up in a mixed Protestant and Catholic family. And my father let my mother raise us as Catholics. And it was always emphasized service to God. We were taught always to serve God. But my interest at heart, and I expressed it, was to enjoy myself. I just was not interested in serving God. You know, full time, I would do a little here and there as a fruitive worker to try to get, blessings or mercy for accomplishing the type of enjoyment that I had in mind, But other than that, I left that up to the priests and the monks and people like that. But I didn't have that interest. It just wasn't my interest. I remember when in Catholicism, you have this confirmation when you're around 12 years old to actually vocalize and confirm your servitude to God. And so the priest, he would take us into a back room. I don't know if they do that nowadays, because of all the stuff that's been brought out in the media. But anyway, this priest would take each boy that was being confirmed, and I would assume the girls too. But I only remember the boys because it was divided. They would have boys and they would have girls. So he asked me, he said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? So I want to be a baseball player. He said, oh, so I guess you're not interested in being a priest, huh? I said, no, Father. I don't have no interest in being a priest. He said, all right. They let me go about my business, So as long as I was playing for Notre Dame or somebody, I guess he didn't mind, So anyhow, that's the conditioned soul, though, We want to enjoy independently from Krishna. And I didn't have any, I certainly had some intuition that the world was temporary, but, I didn't have any thought in my mind at the time how much it would affect me, because all I could see was the enjoyment that I was interested in and the different things that were blocking it, even though they were important things like school or something. So anyhow, it didn't take long before the material nature began to teach me lessons on the difficulties of enjoying in this world and in this temporary world. A couple of years later, untimely, my father was killed in an accident. And so, that was all of a sudden an abrupt lesson, right at the beginning of the baseball season too. So, we learn quickly in this world, and so then, that sort of became the beginning of my search, although, so many things transpired over a few years, but really before I became seriously interested in trying to put an end to the miseries, not only in my life, but at that time I started to think, why do all living entities have to suffer so much? There's just so much suffering in the world. And it was almost like being, naked in the cold or something, because you could just feel it, the suffering in the world so much. And I was thinking, why? This has to be, and something has to be done about it. But I was lost because, what potency did I have to do anything about it? I just didn't feel any capability. So somehow ever being attracted to some sort of service to God, certainly perhaps, due to some initial understanding that opportunity was there, and coming in contact with Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and they explaining this great sacrifice of chanting Hare Krishna, that sacrifice or that activity could help reduce and bring an end to the misery in the world. So then I thought, well, that's something I can do. I don't have to, try to accomplish these things politically, which is extremely hard. Just ask Tulsi Gabbard, she's trying to bring some peace to the world politically, but it's not exactly an easy thing to do. Or economically, make a fortune and go around just giving everybody a dime, or, $100, $1,000, several thousand or more. Or, programs to help people. It takes a lot of potency to do those things. And I didn't certainly have that kind of potency, but chant, individually, I could do that. So that's why I seriously took up chanting Hare Krishna, was to try to bring it into my misery, as well as the misery of others. Devotees would say how you chant the Maha Mantra, and the mantra circumambulates the world 7 times. And so those things inspired me to take up that yaga. Prabhupada would use the word yaga. That's how he pronounced it. When I look at it in Roman letters, it looks like yajana, Y-A-J-A-N-A, but they got that little swirl over the N, how they pronounce that phonetically, don't ask me. But I have a very basic, usually out of the 26 letters, I can usually pronounce about 20 of them properly. So, but Prabhupada would say jaga, like that. So, that jaga means sacrifice. That's the devotees we sent to the temple president's meeting over there in Washington, D.C. That's where Nimai and Pamalochini are. So, anyhow, that's a way we can really help others in the world, and it doesn't really take, but some of our time and energy. No money may take away from money in one sense that you're devoting time and energy to it, but it has more potency than whatever little money we can give in charity. So it's well worth it. Okay, so there's a little bit more to this purport, almost a whole page more. So it is called, let's start here. Because of misusing their independence, they do not wish to serve. Therefore, they are allowed to enjoy the material nature, which is called Maya, or illusion. It is called illusion because the living beings under the clutches of Maya are not factually enjoyers, although they think they are being illusioned by Maya. Such illusion living entities are given a chance at intervals to rectify their perverted mentalities of becoming false masters of the material nature. And they are imparted lessons from the Vedas about their eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, verse 15, Vedais cha sarver aham eva veja. Krishna is in the heart of all living entities, directing their wanderings. So, the temporary creation of the material manifestation is an exhibition of the material energy of the Lord. And to manage the whole show, the Supreme Lord incarnates himself as Karanadakshayi Vishnu, just as a magistrate is deputed by the government to manage affairs temporarily. This Karanadakshayi Vishnu causes the manifestation of material creation by looking over his material energy. Sad Aikshita. Sadaikshita. In the first volume of this book, we have already discussed, to some extent, the explanation of the verse, Jagrihe Parusham Rupam. And there's no translation there. Rupam form, Purusha person, but Jagrihe, I don't know, maybe universal. Jagrihe, I'm not sure of that. The duration of the illusory play of material creation is called a kalpa. And we have already discussed the creations taking place in kalpa after kalpa. By his incarnation and potential activities, the complete ingredients of creation, namely time, space, cause, result, man, the gross and subtle elements and their interactional modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and then the senses and their reservoir source, the gigantic universal form, is the second incarnation of Garbhodakshi Vishnu, and all the living beings, both moving and non-moving, both moving and standing, he says here this time, both moving and standing, which come out of the second incarnation, comma, all become manifest. That was one long sentence. So at intervals, Krishna gives us the chance. And we should take advantage of it whenever it comes. Because, we may take advantage of it and then, fall back into the enjoying mode to maybe a lesser degree. But, it doesn't take much to be in that mood of enjoyment if you've been habituated like myself or trained in that way. As a nice little fruit worker. So it doesn't take much to always kind of get back in step with it a little bit, and to relinquish to some degree our fervent, loving devotional service to Krishna, our 100% pure devotional attitude. But Krishna will send those opportunities again and again for us to, give us the opportunity to take up pure devotional service, like he did with all the Devas and devotees that incarnated in the ape race during the time of Ramchandra Prabhu. They were apes and they enjoyed like apes. They could really disturb human society sometimes because, they would eat all the fruits in the trees and have fun, breaking branches and doing this and doing that. And humans, they lived separately, but, they could be disturbing to humans. Just like during Krishna's Leela, Duvida, who was one of those gorillas, he disturbed Balaram and the gopis while they were enjoying their Rasa Leela. As only a monkey could. So anyway, those apes were all given the chance of service. Even after Sugriva was put onto the throne, it was during the rainy season. The story, his older brother, the parent, the heir to the throne, the king, he had chased his brother out of the kingdom because he thought his brother was an assassin. But the brother really, really loved his brother. He wasn't an assassin. It was just circumstances that were misunderstood. So Ramachandra, Sugriva took shelter of Ramachandra's lotus feet, and Ram arranged for Bali to go to his next life. And Sugriva was incarnated on the throne, made the king, and it was the rainy season, so he couldn't uphold his end of the bargain. Ramchandra helped him. Now he was supposed to help Ram find Sita, but it was rainy season. People couldn't really get out and do the things that they needed to do during that time of year. So they would wait until after the season. In the meantime, he was just installed on the throne. So there's parties and festivals and all that kind of stuff goes on. Even today, when somebody goes through the inaugurational speech after being made president, then they have some festivities and all these sort of things go on. So they were doing that for like 3 months. And the season ended. And still Sugriva didn't come. Lakshman got burned up. What's going on here? They're supposed to be helping us. Instead, they're just enjoying the kingdom like a bunch of materialists. So Lakshman said, that's it. I'm going there. I'm going to give this monkey a piece of my mind. And so he goes in and he gives Sugriva a piece of his mind. And Sugriva immediately assembles all the apes to serve Ram. And he's very strict, very disciplined. This is what we're doing. You're going there. If we don't, whoever messes up, it's a death sentence. Now you get out there and you do your job. And so, different parties went to the east, the west, the south, and the north. But it was only Hanuman's party that Ram had some faith would find Sita. So he gave some of Sita's jewelry to Hanuman in case he did spot her. He could assure her that he was Ram's messenger because he was carrying things that she had dropped when Ravan had kidnapped her. So during that time, it looked like they were not going to accomplish their goal, and they started to talk about, rather than going back empty-handed, You know, it'd be better to take our own lives than to go back and having failed in the mission. But they were, you know, they were talked out of it by the circumstances when the great king of the vultures, you know, revealed where Sita was. And Hanuman regained his supernatural powers and leaped across the ocean and was able to bring back the message to Ram where Sita was. So, you see, the opportunity came. They were all enjoying. They were in that spirit of enjoying themselves. But all of a sudden, the opportunity for service came. Now, granted, it was pretty big service, almost like, I mean, it was being sent off to war, not knowing who was going to come back and who wasn't coming back. So, I mean, it was big, big service, but on a daily basis, you know, we all get the opportunity, even if it's a little service. Because in that same pastime, when they're building the bridge to go to Lanka, there's the famous story of the little spider or the squirrel, whichever one it was, who tries to assist the monkeys putting the big boulders in the ocean. And Hanuman tells the little creature to please move aside. You know, we may step on you. It's really a distraction. But Ram tells Hanuman, no, I appreciate his service, the little bit that he can do. So even if it's just sweeping the temple, we can't understand how much the Lord is moved. You know, in our material estimations, we may think, oh, this person's doing that, that person's doing this. But from Krishna's point of view, he's only seeing the service. And he's not like ordinary human beings, especially those of us with all sorts of material motives. You know, he's like, he is the most gracious person. He doesn't forget what we do for him. He always remembers it. And he's always wanting to bestow blessings on his devotees, on those that, you know, help him. So just like he did with the monkeys, you know, they were all given so many benedictions. And even Bibhishan, you know, was made the king of the Rakshasas because he came and served Ram. So this is the importance of taking advantage when that service opportunity comes. Let me take advantage of that. I mean, how did so many people become devotees? Just because some devotee, you know, offered them a magazine or something. Or asked them, you know, to give a little contribution. And that begins people's service. You know, I can look back and reflect. You know, I had went out to California after high school, wasn't even in college. And I saw some devotee on the famous street called Market Street in San Francisco. And he was just passing out incense, burning incense that they had offered to Lord Jagannath. So I took a stick of that incense. And that's the first thing I remember to have started my devotional career. Just a little stick of incense. Then later on, back in New Orleans, I was going to a music festival with a friend. And somehow ever, we had bought a pack of incense. This spiritual sky incense. And had a picture. Didn't have the picture of Krishna. I used to sell it when we had a picture of Krishna on the front. It was really pretty packaging then. The Spiritual Sky Incense Company had become perhaps the biggest incense company in North America at that time. But back then it was still small, and they had this picture of an 8-armed form of Lord Vishnu on the cover. And it was just a plastic package. But on the back was the Maha Mantra, and me and my friend were looking, and we were saying, oh, look at this mantra. I don't know how we pronounced it, but we said something. We said something. And that was the first time I had ever really read the mantra, chanted the mantra like that. And by you know, the arrangement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some devotees came down from New York, and they opened up a temple by Tulane University. There was one student there working on his master's in business administration. I can't remember his name. Later he opened up a chain of record stores where we were selling incense to him then. His name was Ray. That was his last name, R-A-Y. And Ray married one lady from Lanka. But at this time he was just a single guy, and he came from Boston or someplace. And so he wrote the Boston Temple, hey, I think this New Orleans would be a great place to open a Hare Krishna temple. And so some devotees were sent down from there. At the same time, simultaneously, someone sent Hridayananda, who wasn't a Maharaj at that time, just brahmachari, sent him from Berkeley. And this devotee from Boston arrived first with his wife, who I think was pregnant at the time. I think she had the baby later on. She was pregnant, and 2 brahmacharis. Maybe one brahmachari, the other one maybe came later. And then a few days later, Hridayananda came, and so he became the Sankirtan leader. And he left New Orleans when he went to Gainesville, when Prabhupada came to Gainesville for the first time. When Amarendra arranged for Prabhupada to come to Gainesville, Hridayananda left New Orleans and went to Gainesville. And all the devotees went to Gainesville to see Prabhupada, and those brahmacharis. One was already initiated, but the other came back initiated. And also that devotee, Bhakta Joe, was Bhagavat, was in New Orleans at the time. And he got initiated Bhagavat, but he didn't come back either. He stayed in Gainesville, I believe. Hridayananda didn't come back either. They sent him to Houston to become the temple president in Houston.
Hridayananda said he was with another majority when he was in New Orleans. And Nityananda was in charge. Oh, maybe he did. I didn't know he came with his wife. Yeah, Nityananda was in charge. He was the temple president. Hridayananda was the Sankirtan leader.
Yeah, his wife was there.
When
so neither of them came back. They both
when
went
he was
to
in New
Houston.
Orleans.
Yeah, I wanted to think she was with him in New Orleans.
Yeah. They were only married about a year. He convinced her that, she actually says that, I felt like we were going in together because they had the people who were taking sannyas had to bring their wives in to see if the wives agreed. But she said, I felt like we were taking sannyas.
She didn't understand it completely.
You know, but she came to and stayed with us in Atlanta at that time. It was really nice. She was just like a female expansion of Hridayananda. She gave class like him. She chanted like him. It was far out.
Anyway, I moved into the temple a little bit after that, by Krishna's grace. I moved into New Orleans temple. But those devotees, they would, I was going to say, they would argue with me. But actually I was arguing with them, because I had this very impersonal view of the truth, you know. And so they would always try to present their personal view. But to me it sounded like Bible stories, you know. I used it, whenever they would read Krishna book at the Sunday feast, I had no interest. In fact, I was practically embarrassed. Why are they reading these mythological stories? I just wanted, Bhagavad Gita I had an interest in, especially if it talked about reincarnation or something like that. You know, I had like a real interest in understanding these things, and I wanted to practice yoga and just transcend. So to come to the temple and to go to bed early and wake up early and take a cold shower and sit there and chant these mantras, that was my thing. But I was aspiring to leave the material world and you know, leave all this suffering and misery behind and go to the next destination. The personal view of serving Krishna, like I wasn't so much interested in that, you know. But Krishna kept giving me opportunity. You know, despite, you know, the wrong mentality, Krishna gave me opportunity to serve. So let me finish up real quick the remainder of the purport here. let's see, that was that big long sentence. Then the last little bit is, the first incarnation in the material creation, namely Karanadachi Vishnu, is the plenary part of the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, described in the Brahma Samhita. Verse 48, 5th chapter, it's the only chapter, Lord Chaitanya discovered it. Yashaika Naishvasita Kalam Atavalam Ya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahan Sahayasya Kala Vishesha Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He doesn't give a translation. It says in the last sentence, all the innumerable universes are maintained only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu, or Karanadachi Vishnu, who is only a plenary part of Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So about 6 months later, after moving to the temple, they gave me initiation. But, I didn't have so much faith in Krishna or Govinda. And, Prabhupada knew that, although he wasn't there. Temple president, would just write him and say, I have these devotees that have been following for 6 months. Because, and I was seriously following. I was, following all the regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds. But I didn't really have that much faith in Krishna. I didn't, just tell them that. I didn't, keep always arguing, like that. I learned to, be a little bit diplomatic, that these guys are just going to get bent out of shape all the time when I say this. So, I just thought that maybe one day they would get the clue and understand things. So, but, what Prabhupada knew was what I had an interest in somehow or other, just mystic power. And there was another boy at the temple who was different than me. This boy had a lot of good karma. He already had his bachelor's degree. He was a sociologist and, a counselor. And the guy was big and strong and looked like Elvis Presley, who was very famous at that time, still famous, but he's very famous at that time. It was like 1972. So, and he could sing nicely. And when we would go out to sell books, all the ladies bought books from him. I would struggle, and the only people I could sell books to were the little old African-American ladies in downtown New Orleans. The only ones that buy books from me. Now and then, some other person would buy a book. But this guy would sell so many books. So, and he was always very joyful and happy guy. He had a lot of good karma. And Prabhupada gave him the name Anandavardhana, one who is always increasing in bliss. And both our names come from that song that we chant in the morning. We didn't. Vibhavari Sesha. So he got the name Anandavardhana. And my interest was simply in controlling the senses after living a life of, there was discipline as long as I was playing baseball. As long as I was forced to get up and go to school. But other than that, that's why I never smoked. My father had, come back from World War II when everybody thought they were going to die. So everybody, all the men were smokers and drinkers. He didn't drink, but he smoked. But I never picked up the habit, although God knows how much secondary smoke I was around. I never picked up the habit because all the sports coaches would say, don't smoke because you'll run out of breath. Your lung capacity won't be so great. You won't, your athletic ability will be diminished. So I would never smoke. And the only time I even ever tried it, it was like so harsh that I thought it was ridiculous, you know. So, anyhow, at the temple, whatever amount of power of sense control that I had, that's what I understood from Bhagavad Gita. You know, control your senses, control your mind, and be transcendental to this material nature. Don't be disturbed by the material nature. You know, transcend it, control your mind and body. And even ever brahmacharis to some extent would think like that. We would be very strict, and then we would think we could go out and Krishna would empower us with some mystic power, and somehow ever we could control people's nature or mind, and they would take a book. And I guess some of them did, but a lot of them didn't too. So, you know, we just thought it was our failings, you know. Oh, we just not empowered enough, you know. So, anyhow, Prabhupada gave me the name, then Yogindra Vandana. Yogindra means king of yoga, but you put the word Vandana in there, then it becomes one who is worshipped by the best of yogis, like, you know, the Kamaras. One who is worshipped by the great yogis, Yogindra Vandana. Yogindra Vandana, Shri Nandana. So he gave me the name Yogindra Vandana. So me and Nanda Vardhana, we thought, wow, Prabhupada really understood us. Because he's given us these names. You know, my interest was in yoga, and his interest was in bliss. And so he got the name Bliss, and I got the name Yogindra. Unfortunately, as most Americans do, you know, we like to give nicknames. So instead of calling me, sometimes they would call me Yogi, but I had a friend who was at the temple who I wanted to become a devotee because he had more of a Kshatriya spirit. And I thought, wow, you know, we really need his spirit because it's so dangerous here, you know. I mean, you know, people, we were new, and people often persecuted us. You know, when you go down Harinam on Bergen Street, people would throw beer on you and spit on you and this and that. So we were always going through these things, and so I was thinking, you know, with so-and-so, you know, if he became a devotee, then, you know, I mean, he could really, you know, give more protection to the temple. So he also became a devotee, and he got the name Vrikodar, which is a name for Bhima. Krishna. So, that way, you know, our movement, you know, gradually spread in New Orleans, just going out and selling books, and we didn't collect all that much money, so we would sell spiritual sky incense. We collected a lot of money like that. That's how we bought the farm here, the first 200 acres. We bought by selling spiritual sky incense. And we also paid for the farm by selling commercial art. We wasn't great ministers or preachers or even yogis, and we certainly were not in the highest bliss. But, you know, being raised in a capitalistic spirit where everybody has to provide, then something like your husband, we could go out and do our work every day and bring back enough money for the family to survive. So we would go out, even as brahmacharis, and we would sell that spiritual sky incense to all the stores in the city. Not just record stores, we would sell to the stores that sold alcohol, we would sell to drug stores, we would sell to department stores, we would sell to grocery stores, we would just go in and bring a whole rack and stick the rack right in the guy's place. The guy would look at it. We would say, you see this? It costs 50 cents each. You sell it for $1. And everybody in this neighborhood is going to buy this. And so if they didn't buy it, then we would say, we'll give it to you on consignment. You keep it for a week or two, and I'll come back and I'll collect the money because you're going to sell it all. And a lot of times that happened. And then they became really big customers. They would buy all of our strawberry incense, coconut incense, all these different incense that all these people that were smoking marijuana or this or that, and they would burn the incense to cover up the smell. So all the kids at college and all that. So we sold a lot of incense, and that way we earned money, and we bought New Talavana, we paid for the New Orleans temple.
Also, the Sankirtan devotees had a lot to do with securing New Talavana.
Yeah, they would. Vikudar would take them out, and they would collect money, asking for donations, paid off balloon payments that way. But the regular monthly payments, when the temple, we ended up losing the incense business to the old temple president. He left and took it somewhere else, and we couldn't compete with him. And he left us in a lot of debt. We just couldn't compete. So the temple president, we had a business in New Orleans also. He brought the business out here, and he told that devotee, he said, we had to pay $13,000 every month in mortgage payments. So he told him, you go out, we were selling Oriental brushes and commercial painting. You go out and sell these items, and every month, you just give me $10,000. And then you can put the rest back in the business. $10,000 profit he had to give him every month. And he said, I'll collect the rest on Sankirtan, which is about $3,000. And so every month, they would pay $10,000, and we would collect the rest on Sankirtan. Like that. And there were a couple of times where there were these big balloon notes, like $50,000, $60,000, or $70,000, something like that. And all the devotees would go out, there'd be some competition just to try to collect that money over a month, 2-month period. And that way we were able to finally pay off the mortgage payment in the year 2000, 2001, something like that. And then this business that was paying all that, they took this huge loan from Merrill Lynch, big finance company, and invested it in showrooms and where y'all used to live in North Carolina. High Point, where they have these big furniture shows every year, maybe twice a year. And so they invested all that money in those shows, got ready for the big show, going to make a killing, so to speak, And then 9/11 happened, and nobody could fly. Nobody could go to the show. And Merrill Lynch wanted their money back. So they had to file bankruptcy. And it didn't affect the farm because it was separately incorporated business that the U.S. government gave a tax break to that could be utilized as a donation to pay toward our mortgages. But it was a separate corporation, so only they suffered the bankruptcy, and those devotees who were the directors of that business. But didn't affect New Talavana any. And by Krishna's grace, the mortgages were paid. So, Krishna will work in different ways, but after, whether we're making the money to pay the mortgages or all of a sudden the rugs that you're selling is pulled from out from under you, then there's still the opportunity to serve. So all the devotees just kept serving, And at that time it forced us to start doing as most churches do, or most religious institutions, temples, to subsist on a congregation that supports it. And so did our best to start developing a congregation of interested people who would support. It's like you go to India and you see all these big temples and you see they're all surrounded by Vaishyas and Sudras and Kshatriyas, and all the Brahmins are doing the worship and all that, and of course, you know, there are also school teachers and this and that, but everybody's supporting the temple. You know, I'm talking about, you know, not all temples, but, you know, especially like big temples. Like at Ranganath, there may be 500 Brahmins that are living on the property, and, you know, they have their little housing, and they're all involved in the puja of the deity. But then it's surrounded by a city, you know, of administrators and merchants and farmers and skilled people and craft people and laborers, and they're all supporting the temple. So, you know, just as most religious institutions in the world had to do, then, you know, we had to develop a congregation, because our might of being able to have our own business to pay for everything had disintegrated. A lot of those devotees made their own business and became like congregational members and would give donations to support things like Vedanta Krit, who lives right around you guys. He was a part of that big business that went bankrupt, but then he just made his own business, and he would go out and give contributions to the temple, as he still does. Anyway, that's the whole history of New Talavana there. Okay, any comment or question before we stop for the day of the Haridwani?
I just had some cake that I brought from Atlanta from the Saturday of the
Wow.
50th anniversary of my Guru Maharaj Jadakaka Swami. He's the oldest sannyasi, not in age, but in number of years of maintaining the sannyas ashram in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This is his 50th year, and so there was a festival this weekend, and there's cake here. That
We can all get a piece.
Come by and get a little bit.
Wow.
It's not so big, but it's there with all the Shakti, I promise.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada,
Jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada.